Hey, how are you all doing today? Welcome to Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner on 12OZSportsRadio.com, and I am your host, Glenn Kaplan. We are live in a beautiful, sunny Baltimore, Maryland, home of the Baltimore Orioles and the Baltimore Ravens. Who's excited for today's show? And I'm so ecstatic to get started today. And it all started with last night in a group message with the 12OZ sports team that Beck, Mike, and other people in the group, we were all just laughing, and they were all trying to make fun of what I'd be talking about today. Well, you're going to see in a minute what I'm going to lead off with today, because in the post that I had on my Twitter and my Facebook and shared it on my Instagram and Snapchat, that today's a surprise, and the 12OZ sports team had to retweet a special shocking GIF, and you're going to see in a minute what today's leadoff is. But for the moment, welcome to the 67th show of mine on here today. And I wish this would be another day I'd be doing it outside. But here I am in a nice, cool basement of mine. And sorry, whoever's going to be let down from the group chat. But I feel like I have to start off with this, because I watched this on Sunday and it felt like took my time to research these rosters. So I watched on Sunday afternoon, remember in 2010, the Sidney Crosby golden goal for Team Canada against the United States. I happened to post that goal because I like Pittsburgh, fan of theirs, and it's just like Sidney Crosby, and it's just like, yes, he's the face of Canadian hockey. And I had found 7 teams and how this would work out. But before I announce those 7 teams, there's something I want to get off my chest right now and start with these USA chants for basically the sole reason of we are one step closer to defeating this coronavirus. That's how I feel right now, because states are slowly but surely reopening, and once and for all, we are going to defeat this thing, and more importantly, we're gonna just take everything down, right? I mean, we'll see what happens with all that. And at least China doesn't have a hockey team, because they would probably be pretty bad at it, just like how bad their government is in trying to hide up this virus and stuff like that, so they don't have to worry about losing in hockey. Ha ha ha! So I hope you all like that joke. So let's get serious. So, here are the 7 teams that I have announced for this tournament thing of mine. Canada, United States, Sweden, Finland, Russia, Europe, and Czech Republic. The reason why I have Europe is because when they did the World Cup in 2016, you're not going to get guys from like a team full of like Germany and Denmark and all that stuff. So they just in Switzerland and Italy and all that other fun stuff. So they just decided to group it in Europe, and that's what I did here. And the funny thing is, they had a North American team, 23 and under, and they had Canada and US only over the ages of 24. But here I did not do that. So here's what I think is and also the Czech Republic. Here's how I ranked it. I'm going to announce it who I think's the worst team to the best team. The 7th best team, I think the worst team that I decided to look up, the Czech Republic. On line 1, Jakub Vrana of the Washington Capitals, Jakub Voracek of the Philadelphia Flyers, and David Pastrnak of the Boston Bruins. That's not a bad first line. You got goal scoring. Line number 2 features Andre Palat of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Michael Frolik of the Buffalo Sabres, and Tomas Hertl of the San Jose Sharks. Line number 3, Philip Hedl, the New York Rangers, Pavel Zacha, the New Jersey Devils, and Andre Case of the Boston Bruins. Line 4 features Martin Necas of the Carolina Hurricanes, David Krejci of the Boston Bruins, Martin Hanzal of the Dallas Stars, and your healthy scratch is Radek Vaska of the Dallas Stars, who I think is actually not a bad player. The problem with this team is, on paper you're going to realize, first of all, how much better these 6 teams are ahead of them from top to bottom. And really, after the first line, it's really not that offensively powered. It's just a bunch of grit that probably can't generate any goals whatsoever. Here's your defensemen. Andre Schuster of the Tampa Bay Lightning and Philip Hornick of the Detroit Red Wings, who I happen to like, is developing very nicely for the Detroit Red Wings. Very young, and Detroit's in a rebuild mode. Number 2, Brendan Dillon of the Capitals and Michael Kempny of the Capitals. I like Kempny a lot. I thought he played a huge role in the 2018 Stanley Cup playoffs. Told that to a friend of mine who I was actually in one of my classes with a couple of years ago. So it was weird. Pens fan, Caps fan, just like talking to each other, but it was just like all chill. That Caps fan base is all chill and fun and games. It's not like the Philadelphia Flyers fan base. Yikes. And then the third defensive pairing features Rado Gudas of the Capitals and Roman Polak of the Dallas Stars. Jan Rutta of the Tampa Bay Lightning is your healthy scratch. And for some reason, I don't know why they do this, but in international they carry 3 goalies. David Rittich of the Calgary Flames is your starter. Peter Mrazek of the Carolina Hurricanes is your backup. And the scratch is Pavel Francois of the Colorado Avalanche. Okay? Team, the second worst team, I think, in all of this, Europe. Line 1 for Team Europe. Leon Draisaitl of the Edmonton Oilers from the country of Germany. And I love Leon Draisaitl, who's basically probably going to win the Hart Trophy this year in the NHL, nonetheless. On Draisaitl's line, you also have Anze Kopitar of the Los Angeles Kings from Slovenia and Matt Zuccarello of the Minnesota Wild from Norway. That's actually a decent first line. You got some speed, you got some grit, and you got some goal scoring. Line 2, Teddy Bluger, the Pittsburgh Penguins from Latvia. He's actually having a nice season. He's more of a third or fourth line center, but because of the way this team is constructed, he's the second line centerman. Nito Niederreiter of the Minnesota Wild from Switzerland. And your other second liner is... Who is the... Tobias Ryder, Arizona, from the Arizona Coyotes, and from the country of Germany. Second line. Sorry, that was the second line. Third line, excuse me. Yannick Hansen, Vancouver Canucks from Europe. I typed Europe. How did I manage to type Europe in that one? Oopsie daisies. I was being tomfoolery there. We were mentioning on the chat last night, 12 Easy Sports. That's the first tomfoolery I have in today's show. Number 3, and also on the third line, Richard Panik of the Washington Capitals from Slovakia, and Michael Raffl of the Philadelphia Flyers from Austria. Line 4, Tom Kuhnhackl of the New York Islanders from Germany, Nico Hischier, New Jersey Devils from Switzerland, and Tomas Tatar, the Montreal Canadiens from Slovakia. And your healthy scratch is Mikael Bodecker, Ottawa Senators, Denmark. Your top defensive pairing, and this is actually a very good defensive pairing for Team Europe. Zdeno Chara of the Boston Bruins from Slovakia, and Roman Josi of the Nashville Predators from Switzerland. Defensive pairing number 2, Luca Sbisa, Winnipeg Jets from Italy, woohoo, Jonas Siegenthaler, Washington Capitals, Switzerland. Defensive pairing number 3, Dean Kukan, Columbus Blue Jackets, Switzerland, and Eric Cernak, Tampa Bay Lightning, Slovakia. And your healthy scratch is Mikkel Mueller, New Jersey Devils, Switzerland. Goalies. Your starting goaltender, Frederik Andersen of Toronto Maple Leafs from Denmark. Yaroslav Halak's the backup from the Boston Bruins from Slovakia. And Thomas Greiss is your third goalie from Germany. And there was another goalie I really considered on this roster by a guy the name of Elvis Merzlikins of the Columbus Blue Jackets from Latvia. But something to me said Greiss for now over Merzlikins, despite Greiss not having the year. And I know Greiss is having a .913 save percentage. And Merzlikins has between a .921 and .925 save percentage. And then Merzlikins has 5 shutouts compared to Greiss' 0. So, next team. Team 5. The 5th worst. Finland. Line number 1. Patrick Laine of the Winnipeg Jets. Sebastian Aho of the Carolina Hurricanes. And the other first liner on this team is... Where's my other number 1? Mikko Rantanen on the Colorado Avalanche. Yes, sir, indeed. Mikko Rantanen, and I almost forgot about him yesterday because I don't know how I almost forgot about him. The truth of the matter is that he's a very good player on the same line with Nathan McKinnon. With Nathan McKinnon of the Colorado Avalanche. Next line on team Finland, Kasperi Kapanen of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Alexander Barkov of the Florida Panthers, and Teuvo Teravainen of the Carolina Hurricanes. So, what are you all guys thinking right now with these lines? You guys enjoying it? Or do you guys, not like it whatsoever because you're just add this and that, da-da-da, the whole 9 yards? And it's I mean, I'm actually having a ton of fun with doing this right now. I really am. Seriously, I really am having a lot of fun doing this. Next line number 3 for Finland, features Jonas Donskoi of the Colorado Avalanche, Valtteri Filppula of the Detroit Red Wings, and line number 3, Kaapo Kakko of the New York Rangers, a developing, nice forward for the Rangers. Line 4, Eric Hall of the Florida Panthers, Mikko Koivu of the Minnesota Wild, and Michael Granlund of the Nashville Predators, and your healthy scratch, Leo Komarov of the New York Islanders. Your defensemen are Rasmus Ristolainen of the Buffalo Sabres, and Miro Heiskanen of the Dallas Stars, Sammy Vatanen of the Carolina Hurricanes, and Esa Lindell of the Dallas Stars. And your third defensive pairing is Olli Maatta of the Chicago Blackhawks, and Marcus Nutivaara of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and Sami Niku of the Winnipeg Jets is your healthy scratch. Tuukka Rask of the Boston Bruins is your starting goalie. Jonas Korpisalo of the Columbus Blue Jackets is your backup, and Pekka Rinne of the Nashville Predators is your healthy scratch. So those are kind of the 3 worst teams. So here we go. Now, with Team Sweden, now we are getting into the better teams here. And I thought Team Sweden was the worst team until I looked at these rosters this morning, and made a couple of tweaks to these. I said, maybe they're not as bad as we thought. Here we go, Team Sweden. Line number 1 for Team Sweden, Patrick Hornqvist of the Pittsburgh Penguins, Nicklas Backstrom of the Washington Capitals, and Elias Pettersson of the Vancouver Canucks. Pettersson is coming along for Vancouver, and he's going to get better as the years go on. Line number 2, Philip Forsberg of the Nashville Predators, Mika Zibanejad of the New York Rangers, and Carl Hagelin of the Washington Capitals. Line number 3, Oscar Lindblom of the Philadelphia Flyers, Gabriel Landeskog of the Colorado Avalanche, and Jesper Fast for the New York Rangers. Line number 4, Gustav Nyquist of the Columbus Blue Jackets, Alexander Wennberg of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and Andreas Janssen of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Your healthy scratch for Team Sweden is Jesper Bratt for the New Jersey Devils. Your defenseman for Team Sweden for defensive pairing number 1, Victor Hedman of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Rasmus Dahlin of the Buffalo Sabres. Defensive pairing number 2, Erik Karlsson of the San Jose Sharks, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson of the Arizona Coyotes. And defensive pairing number 3, Robert Hagg of the Philadelphia Flyers, and Gabriel Carlsson of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And here's the next team that, talent-wise, offensively, the next team may have the most, talent-wise, or maybe the best goal scoring. Team Russia. Forwards. Line number 1. Actually, excuse me. Before I get into Team Russia, I forgot to mention the goalies for Team Sweden. And this is where I think Sweden has its weakness. Starting goalie Henrik Lundqvist of the New York Rangers. Goalie number 2, Jakob Markstrom of the Vancouver Canucks. And goalie number 3, Robin Lehner of the Vegas Golden Knights. So Lehner's your healthy scratch. Frederick Claesson of the New Jersey Devils is your healthy scratch. For defenseman, Claesson's your healthy scratch for defenseman, and Lehner's your healthy scratch for goalies. Now on to Team Russia. Your top line for Team Russia: Alex Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals, Evgeny Malkin of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and Nikita Kucherov of the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's 3 top 10 players. Ovechkin, Malkin, and Kucherov. That's scary. Line number 2, Vladimir Tarasenko of the St. Louis Blues, Evgeny Kuznetsov for the Washington Capitals, and Artemi Panarin for the New York Rangers. That's a nice second line offensively. Kuznetsov doesn't get to move from his number 2 pairing like he does with the Capitals. And then you add Tarasenko and Artemi Panarin. Panarin's a first-line talent, but you're on the second line? Sheesh. Line number 3. This is where they may run into trouble. Ilya Kovalchuk of the Washington Capitals, Evgeny Dadonov of the Florida Panthers, and Vladislav Namestnikov of the Colorado Avalanche. Line 4. Pavel Buchnevich of the New York Rangers, Andrei Stavechnikov of the Carolina Panthers, and probably Alexander Radulov of the Dallas Stars, and you have Nikita Gusev of the New Jersey Devils as your healthy scratch. Defensive pairing number 1, and this is where the Russians may get abused. Mikhail Sergachev of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Ivan Provorov of the Philadelphia Flyers. Defensive pairing number 2, Dmitry Kulikov of the Winnipeg Jets, and Dmitry Orlov of the Washington Capitals. Defensive pairing number 3, Nikita Zaitsev of the Ottawa Senators, and Nikita Zadorov of the Colorado Avalanche. Your healthy scratch is Alexei Emelin from Montreal. Alexei Emelin, by the time I looked up these rosters, that was the team that Alexei Emelin was on, Montreal. But I believe he's like if he's not in Montreal, then he's either on Dallas or Nashville. He's somewhere in the Central Division. And then your goalies for the Russians, Andre Vasilevsky of the Tampa Bay Lightning's your starter. And this is a surprise who the backup is, but I think you can understand where I'm going with this. Igor Shesterkin, the New York Rangers. This guy's starting to become a stud in the NHL. Igor Shesterkin is going to be maybe a Stanley Cup champion one day. And your third goalie is Sergei Bobrovsky of the Florida Panthers. So, Team 2, ladies and gentlemen, the United States of America, USA, USA. Team number 2 is the United States of America. And this is a better team than I thought. Listen, the United States of America has a better chance of winning a World Cup in hockey than they do in men's soccer. But let's also give props today to the United States women's national team for winning back-to-back World Cup titles. Woohoo! Yes! Yes, and I love playing as them on FIFA all the time. But now let me get back to the Team United States. Line 1 for United States. Patrick Kane of the Chicago Blackhawks. Austin Matthews of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Johnny Gaudreau of the Calgary Flames. Easily all three of those guys are top 15 players. Easily. Very, very easily. Kane's a sniper. Austin Matthews is a sniper. And Gaudreau's a quick and elusive player. Line number 2. Jake Guentzel of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Jack Eichel of the Buffalo Sabres. And TJ Oshie of the Washington Capitals. Line number 3. Blake Wheeler of the Winnipeg Jets. Brock Bossier of the Vancouver Canucks. And Matthew Tkachuk of the Calgary Flames. Line 4. Phil Kessel of the Arizona Coyotes. Sean Couturier of the Philadelphia Flyers. And Anders Lee of the New York Islanders. And your healthy scratch is Kyle Palmieri of the New Jersey Devils. And then your goalie, and not your goalies, your defensemen for Team USA. Pairing number 1, Brian Dumoulin of the Pittsburgh Penguins and John Carlson of the Washington Capitals. Defensive pairing number 2, Seth Jones of the Columbus Blue Jackets and Zach Werenski of the Columbus Blue Jackets. That fits very well because they're teammates. And defensive pairing number 3, John Moreno of the Pittsburgh Penguins and Charlie McAvoy for the Boston Bruins. I like the year Moreno's having for Pittsburgh. I think he's coming a long way as a rookie. And he's not going to win the Calder Trophy. But this kid is something special. And McAvoy's been there for a few years. And your healthy scratch is Brady Skagey of the Carolina Hurricanes. Excuse me. So your starting goalie for Team USA, Ben Bishop of the Dallas Stars. Your backup goalie, John Gibson of the Anaheim Ducks. And your third goalie, healthy scratch, Jonathan Quick of the LA Kings. Quick is never healthy. Yeah, so he's like never healthy. I'm critical a lot of times of John Gibson. And I'm just like, I think he could be overrated. I think he flops a lot in net. But he usually plays well from time to time. Nonetheless in a lot of situations. And then, surprise, surprise, your number 1 team, oh, Canada. Oh, Canada. Here we go. Okay. These lines that I'm about to announce for Canada is basically assault, abuse, and whatever else you want to name it. Here we go. Line number 1 for Team Canada. Connor McDavid of the Edmonton Oilers. Sidney Crosby of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Brad Marchand of the Boston Bruins. Line number 2 for Team Canada. John Tavares of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Steven Stamkos of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And Nathan MacKinnon of the Colorado Avalanche. Line number 3, Jamie Benn of the Dallas Stars, Jonathan Toews of the Chicago Blackhawks, and Patrice Bergeron of the Boston Bruins. Line number 4, Claude Giroux of the Philadelphia Flyers, Jonathan Huberdeau of the Florida Panthers, and Tyler Seguin of the Dallas Stars. Your healthy scratch is Mark Scheifele of the Winnipeg Jets. Defenseman for Team Canada. First pairing, Chris Letang of the Pittsburgh Penguins and PK Subban of the New Jersey Devils. Defensive pairing number 2, and I personally think this is better than defensive pairing number 1. The only reason why Letang and Subban would be defensive pairing number 1 is because off of brand only and name. But to me, the second pairing is better. Cale Makar of the Colorado Avalanche and Alex Pietrangelo of the St. Louis Blues. Pietrangelo is the captain of the Blues, and so is Cale Makar of the Colorado Avalanche. Pietrangelo is your heartbeat and the heart and soul of the St. Louis Blues, and that's one of the reasons why they happened to win the Stanley Cup last year. And I just think it's a very good thing that it happened for them. So about Alexei Emelin, he's not in the NHL anymore. He's in Team Russia. He's playing for Team Russia. So then, back to Team Canada. Your third defensive pairing is Shea Weber of the Montreal Canadiens and Drew Doughty of the Los Angeles Kings. And then your goalies for team, and then your healthy scratch for Team Canada is Tyson Barrie of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Your goalies for the Team Canada, your starting goaltender is Jordan Binnington of the St. Louis Blues. I mean, he was absolutely tremendous last season. He was such a tremendous player for them. Number 2, Matt Murray of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And number 3, your healthy scratch is Braden Holtby. So how do you guys like these teams? So before I get into our next hockey segment, so it's like it's like these 7 teams are like a basketball league that I happen to work at. And it's like very top heavy at the top and it was bad at the bottom, and then obviously stopped due to the coronavirus. So this is what I feel about these teams. Number 7, Czech Republic. Number 6, Team Europe. Number 5, Team Finland. Number 4, Team Sweden. Number 3, Team Russia. Number 2, Team United States. And number 1, Team Canada. So before I get into the next segment, so I'm just going to give you my strengths, what I think each team's strength is. Czech Republic's strength. It has to be their top line and their top line only. Team Europe's strength. Team Europe's strength, I think it's their first line of defense. Team Finland's strength, I'm going to say goaltending. I think goaltending was the strength of Team Finland. Team 4, Sweden's strength, I'm going to say some speed and some grit. And Team 3, Russia, definitely their top 2 lines. Team number 2, United States, I like their top 2 lines. And I think their defense and their goaltending is underrated. And Canada, number 1, obviously, their offense. I don't like a lot of defense for a lot of these teams for some reasons. Russia especially. And as I was looking up for Emelin, and Russian defensemen for some reason, Russia doesn't produce a lot of defensemen. So I made the right call with Alexei Emelin. He's probably a better option than whoever else would be in the NHL. I mean, Russia doesn't produce many NHL defensemen for whatever reason. I don't know why, but that seems to be the case. So I would love to maybe play on a video game one time with like Canada, United States, Sweden, Finland, Russia, Europe, and Czech Republic. So on to my next segment. And I hope you would all enjoy the World Cup. Maybe like a 12-game round robin and like everyone participates in the playoffs. Maybe like like the Olympics, like a one and done scenario. And obviously your top seed has a bye. That would be you schedule maybe like 12 games. Each team obviously has 2 byes. I would have to look up the schedule thing how they would do with like with teams having 2 byes and playing like 12 games and stuff later. So maybe I could get back into the United States thing and the Canada thing another time. So on to my next NHL segment here. That took like 31 minutes of the show. My team stuff. So on to the NHL draft in 2020. So it's still going to be determined how the order is going to go, nonetheless. And what they want to do before the season resumes, and that's even if the NHL season resumes. Which I honestly don't get at all. And this is how the draft order is before they do the draft lottery. And they're not doing it based off of the points and who's in the playoffs. They're doing it off a points percentage system. So here's the order without a lottery. Detroit Red Wings number 1. Ottawa Senators number 2. Ottawa Senators number 3 from the San Jose Sharks in the trade. Number 4, the LA Kings. Number 5, the Anaheim Ducks. Number 6, the New Jersey Devils. Number 7, the Buffalo Sabres. Number 8, the Montreal Canadiens. Number 9, the Chicago Blackhawks. Number 10, the New Jersey Devils from the Arizona Coyotes. Number 11, the Minnesota Wild. Number 12, the Winnipeg Jets. Number 13, the New York Rangers. Number 14, the Florida Panthers. And number 15, the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I went to a website yesterday called Tankathon. And they do this for the NBA too. And I'm sure when the time for the NBA comes, I'm going to do it. So I clicked Tankathon 10 times. I felt that was like a fair number. And they basically decided a draft order for me and the draft picks. So here's what happened when I simulated the draft order. Number 1 pick, I actually happened to land on the Anaheim Ducks. And they moved up 4 spots to take Alexis Lafreniere, left winger from Rimouski, and this would be good for an Anaheim team that's rebuilding. Number 2, the Ottawa Senators, Quinton Byfield, center from Sudbury. They get another young player to go with Brady Tkachuk. Number 3, Montreal Canadiens, Tim Stützle, left winger, center, right winger from Adler Mannheim, a Germany league basically. And Stützle either could Montreal could be like, hey, we're gonna take our time with his development, or get him in the NHL right away. Number 4, the Detroit Red Wings, Jamie Drysdale, defenseman from Erie. Detroit has not had a defenseman like that since a guy named Nicholas Kronwall, who actually happens to be in the NHL Hall of Fame. Number 5, the Ottawa Senators. If they get 2 top 5 picks, that's going to be golden for them. This is from the San Jose Sharks. Lucas Raymond, right winger for Wanda. Number 6, Los Angeles Kings. Cole Perfetti, center, Saginaw from the OHL. Number 7, and I know how good the LA Kings farm system is becoming. And I think it was beginning of the year, LA Kings like, oh, they got a great farm system. Like, ha ha ha. What? The LA Kings have this farm system? What? And I saw then this Calvin Peterson guy come up, the future goalie of the Kings. And then they started to play better. Said, oh, okay. I see why people are saying that the LA Kings are actually coming along now. Maybe not next year under Todd McClellan, but maybe not in 2020, 2021, but maybe in 2021, 2022. Nonetheless, the 7th pick, New Jersey Devils, Alexander Holtz, right winger, left winger, Djurgårdens. Djurgårdens. That's what the team name is. Number 8, Buffalo Sabres. Marco Rossi, center, Ottawa. You have Casey Middlestall. And you have also Jack Eichel. So, Eichel is the captain on the team, the leader, the heartbeat, and the heart and soul of the Buffalo Sabres. He is so that gets Buffalo some more core pieces. They have not been very good since the days of Danny Briere and Chris Drury and Maxim Afinogenov and Thomas Vanek, which I don't understand how that 06-07 team didn't win a cup. Number 9, Chicago Blackhawks. Yaroslav Askarov, goaltender from SKA 1946. Blackhawks need a goalie in their system. They don't have an answer because Corey Crawford's not the answer moving forward. And I truly believe that he was maybe the worst goalie ever to win the Stanley Cup. It's just like, and he also won 2 of them, which I have no idea how. It's like in the NFL quarterbacks. Who's the worst quarterback ever? Stop with this Eli Manning and Nick Foles and Trent Dilfer. Come on. Come on, guys. And then number 10, New Jersey Devils from the Arizona Coyotes. Anton Lundell, center, left winger, HIFK. So the Devils could potentially have 2 top 10 picks, and they also may have another first-round pick later in the first round of the NHL draft from the Vancouver Canucks. Has to do something with a JT Miller trade from when JT Miller got traded from Tampa Bay to Vancouver, and Vancouver traded that pick to Tampa Bay, and then Tampa Bay traded that pick to the New Jersey Devils for Blake Coleman. Number 11, Minnesota Wild, Connor Zary, center, Kamloops. Number 12, and Billy Guerin, I know, new general manager, is trying to build an established culture there, and it used to be in the Pittsburgh Penguins front office. And I actually have a picture with Bill Guerin. He's from from a time when I was living in Wilkes-Barre where they brought the Stanley Cup. They brought the Stanley Cup. They brought the Conn Smythe. They brought the Jack Adams, and the scoring trophy. They brought a lot of those over, and I think I touched everything but the Stanley Cup. I remember the other day they asked on Twitter, "Would you touch the Jack Adams?" I said yes, only for the sole reason that Pittsburgh actually has won all 5 Stanley Cups when touching it, and the only one they didn't win was when they didn't touch it back in 08 against the Detroit Red Wings. So history is history. Number 12, Winnipeg Jets, Dawson Mercer, right winger, Drummondville. I know Winnipeg's had a very good history of drafting players, and they have a good farm system, and I know they're going to be good. They'll be good personnel-wise moving forward, because you have like guys like Blake Wheeler. You have guys like Blake Wheeler, who's the captain, the leader, and the heartbeat and heart and soul of the Winnipeg Jets. And then number 13 to the New York Rangers, Jake Sanderson, defenseman from USA U18. And the United States is developing very good defensemen. They really are. And you got to give credit where credit's due, because USA never used to be a hockey country. They're always behind in things. And USA, why do you think it's like hockey for USA, hockey this, hockey that now, Hockey Town USA? Why do you think they're doing all this now? And because their developmental program, yeah, it's not Canada, but it's getting better year after year after year. And these teams, you get bigger, you get stronger from these programs. And I think it's very top notch. And then the 14th pick to the Florida Panthers, Dylan Holiday, left winger, center, right winger, Wisconsin. He would probably come over into Florida system maybe in a year or two, because college players, they were mentioned about this in the NHL on NHL Network the other day. You get bigger, you get stronger from playing in college. Even though some of these college guys, yeah, they may not be playing in the NHL, but the good thing about college is maybe sometimes it's better playing college competition than playing guys against 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds and like these junior hockey leagues. The 15th pick to the Columbus Blue Jackets, Jack Quinn, right winger from the Ottawa 67s. No, not the Ottawa Senators. And yes, it's probably weird. I actually have no idea where the Ottawa 67s play. Maybe it's in the same arena as the Senators, but it probably isn't, because I don't think the OHL and WHL and all the junior hockey league arenas are really that big. I really don't think there are. And there still hasn't been a decision made on how the NHL draft's going to work, nonetheless, in the long run. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because this will be a weird way for the NHL to have its draft, nonetheless, because they're going to need a plan to see how this is all going to work. But here's the thing that I read on the New York Post the other day. You can't just have the draft without also having a plan to resume the season. If you're going to have the draft, now fine. Either cancel the season or decide how you're going to roll with the playoffs, because that's just going to be weird. Say a team that's drafting higher in the order and then they fall out of the playoffs, or a team that's drafting lower now and then they make the playoffs. That's kind of like, I don't know if that's really fair. Either what you decide is, okay, we're going to have maybe a 24-team playoff, or an 18 team, or a 20 or 22, or maybe just the 16 teams in, and those 16 teams that you choose don't go in the lottery, because the NHL has a lottery just like what the NBA does. Nonetheless. So, a very interesting story. This is my last hockey topic today, probably. I promise about that, because I don't know how many of you guys are probably sick of my Edmonton. Sorry about the microphone technical difficulties, but here I am. So back to what I was saying. I promise that today, that this is my last hockey take. And for all you guys that are listening into Edmonton and wherever else in the world, thank you very much. From the bottom of my heart, I truly appreciate you guys. I love you all. So, Matt Murray. And this is not a fake story. This is a true story that I happened to read on, is that at the trade deadline, and I don't know how Pittsburgh Penguins fans would have related to this, Matt Murray was almost dealt to the Colorado Avalanche. And I was just sitting there reading this story like, are you kidding me? Matt Murray, who's on a contract year along with Tristan Jarry, is on. They would rather get rid of Murray before they get a Jarry. And Murray happened to win with 2 Stanley Cups. Want to know what this tells me? Durability. The Pittsburgh Penguins are worried about Murray's durability in the long run. That's the only explanation why that Matt Murray was dealt at the deadline. And yes, I understand it's a business. And yes, I know that. But the truth of the matter is, Rutherford's not paying Matt Murray Andrei Vasilevsky money. Vasilevsky's a better goalie than Murray is, despite Murray having the 2 Stanley Cups and all. Because Matt Murray in 38 games, 20-11-5 record, .899 save percentage, a 2.87 GAA, and 1 shutout in 199 career games and 193 starts, 117-53-19 record, .914 save percentage, 2.67 GAA, and 11 shutouts. So, what this is telling me is, they're going to pay Jarry cheap. General Manager Jim Rutherford is going to trade Murray in the offseason, have Casey DeSmith as the backup next year, and Jarry's got the better durability in the long run, and Jarry, I think, just played as fine. He was probably the better goalie rather than Matt Murray this year. Jarry, 33 games played this year, starting in 31, 20-12-1 record, 921 save percentage, 2.43 GAA, and 3 shutouts in his career. He's starting 57 games and played in 62, 34-20-4 record with a 914 save percentage, a 2.61 GAA, and 5 shutouts. So it's really like the stats are identical. And Jarry's here's the thing. The stats are identical, and Jarry's played in less games. So the scouting department and the... What's the word I'm looking for here? The word I'm looking for is the... I'll say training department. Not necessarily scouting department. I'm thinking more to the lines of like people that do like conditioning and weight training. I say it's more that than scouting. I think durability is more of a training issue rather than a scouting issue. And the Penguins may feel like Murray may not be the guy in the long run. And thank you for delivering 2 Stanley Cups to us. We couldn't have done it without you. We have to move on. It's a business. Although, I do think one thing. If the season gets canceled, and yes, I know that they're both restricted free agents. I think you may, and yes, I know the Seattle expansion draft is next year. After in the summer of 2021. And Rutherford may not want to deal with again, which is probably the reason why he's going to want to deal one of those 2 goalies in the offseason, is because he doesn't want to deal with another Fleury-Murray situation and having it this time with Murray-Jarry, because he got a ton of heat from getting rid of Fleury the last time to the Vegas Golden Knights. And that's probably the reason why he wants to move off of move off of Murray or Jarry in the summer so he could not worry about it. Because he knows he doesn't have to worry about protecting and losing another draft pick and getting a lot of heat from the fan base. And no matter what he does this offseason, he's going to get a lot of heat from the fan base. Some people will be happy, some people won't be happy. It's a lot of pressure for General Manager Jim Rutherford this summer. There's no question. But because of what happened, and if the season for some odd gets canceled, Chas v'shalom, God forbid, hopefully it doesn't get canceled. But if it does get canceled, then maybe you keep them. You sign them to both 1-year deals, $3.5 million. And then what you do is whoever doesn't play better, you expend them in the draft. That might be the fairest way to decide who's not staying in 2021, 2022 if the season doesn't get canceled. If the season gets canceled, But if the season doesn't get canceled, then maybe that's more of an option. But if it does get canceled, then I wouldn't do it. So, now that I am done with all of this hockey talk, so here's the issue across the NBA. And this was a tweet last night by Ramona Shelburne of ESPN. I happened to talk a close friend of mine about this. Ramona Shelburne, quote, NBA Players Association Executive Director Michelle Roberts and NBA Commissioner Adam Silver will hold a call for players on Friday, May 8th, sources told ESPN. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Say goodnight to the NBA season. And yes, I know they're talking about, open up the facilities as early as potentially tomorrow due to what the states and the health officials and the governors are ordering for these people to do. And I'm sitting here, and I'm like, no. There is no way on this planet Earth we are seeing basketball again in 2019 and 2020. And I know a close friend of mine messaged me yesterday. It's more about potentially concerns of what the players have. But this is not what this is about. I'm not trying to get fooled by this. I thought I remembered that by next Friday, the NBA has to make a decision on whether or not the season's got to cancel with the CBA. That's what I remember and recall. So if we don't hear anything by next Friday, May 15th, I'm going to assume they're not going to cancel. But I believe that within the next week, they are going to make an announcement we're not doing this. And yes, I know they want to get players, and they want to try their best. No. The NBA's a mess, as I've been saying. The problem with the NBA is they are passive-aggressive, and they're too liberal about this stuff. Especially Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban, who has always went on these shows and always wanted to believe that basketball is going to come back. And now he's taking a passive-aggressive approach. Because Mark Cuban, yes, the state of Texas is willing to open the facilities, but Mark Cuban, you're the one that wants basketball back. And now all of a sudden you don't want basketball back because you don't want to open your facility right away? Is this what this is? The NBA being too liberally outspoken and too passive-aggressive. We want a season. We don't want a season. We want a season. We don't want a season. Make up your darn mind. Your players, the owners, the execs, Adam Silver. What do you want? Make up your darn mind. The MLB's coming up with a plan. The NFL's coming up with a plan. The NHL's coming up with a plan. What's your idea? What's your plan? You guys are too liberally spoken about this. You guys are taking a passive-aggressive approach. Do you want a decision or do you want or not? You can't do this half rear end A. That's what I have to say. This is top buffoonery on this stuff when it comes to the NBA. They are completely confused in what direction they want to head in. The NBA, yes, they're a multi-billion-dollar business, billion-dollar business, but the problem is they can't make up their minds. 1 minute LeBron wants to play, 1 minute he doesn't. 1 minute Chris Paul does, next minute he doesn't. Cuban wants basketball back. He thought maybe by mid-May, here we are, we're getting to that point now, and it may not be till July we even see games played because these players are out of shape, and now you don't want to open your facilities. Make up your darn mind already! What do you guys want? Do you want a season? Or do you just want to be passive-aggressive and not have a season? And then you all start complaining. Cry me a river when you guys don't have a season. And then you're going to say something. Oh, I wish we had this. And oh, wish that. I wish this. I wish that. Because you didn't speak up. Because you kept changing your mind every 5 seconds about it. Because you had no idea what you wanted to do. You simply had no idea what you wanted to do. And because of it, you're going to pay the price for it later. And yes, I understand safety comes first. But at the same time, make up your mind. It's like, what do you want for dinner? What do you want? And it's like in relationships too. What does the wife want? A happy wife, a happy life. It's not seeming like that in the NBA right now. All I have to say on the matter is, goodness gracious on that part. I can't believe it. So here we are. MLB may start July 1st. And the thing about the MLB is that it's the heartbeat and the heart and soul of summertime in Major League Baseball. And Trevor Plouffe is reporting that he's been in contact with a lot of these players and that this is very well happening. Potentially July 1st is opening day, and spring training resumes on June 1st. Outdoor sports, I know Korean baseball has started, and we get this chant again, USA, USA. One step closer to defeating the virus, baby. And please, we also don't have to worry about China beating us in baseball either. So, in the final minute, and there's also one other thing I want to speak about other than baseball. I know there's a plan in place potentially for baseball opening day July 1st and spring training potentially June 1st. Probably no fans, or maybe they're going to play in all their home ballparks without all the fans nonetheless. And then tonight, I will be watching this at 8 o'clock on NFL Network. The NFL releases its 2020 schedule, baby. I can't wait. And I posted something like that on Instagram last night, Saquon Barkley style, from the New York Giants on my Instagram page. Oh, the NFL, I can't wait for the NFL to release its schedule tonight. Nonetheless, and we'll see what happens. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to my wonderful show, Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner. I am your host, Glenn Kaplan. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend as well. I'm going to be back on the air at the same time on Monday. I'll have some more NBA and NHL topics. I'll have maybe more about the 2020 NFL schedule, maybe draft. And I also have some potential other NFL topics as well, nonetheless. Related to it, nonetheless. And along with some MLB topics as well. Maybe some merchandise, we'll see. I love you all, ladies and gentlemen. Be safe and be well. I love you all. Take care. Have a wonderful weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. Be safe.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Thursday, May 7th, 2020 episode of Pete's Power Plays, hosted by the one, the only Philly Pete. And we are live on 12 Ounce Sports. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the last show of the week, unfortunately, but it will resume back on Tuesday like always. This show, per usual, is sponsored by MyBookie.ag. Live sports may feel and hold to you, but that's not the case with MyBookie. They got tons of action for you to get in on the fun over at mybookie.ag. Whether esports or overseas baseball is your thing, they've got you covered when you use the promo code 12Ounce Sports. That's 12OZ Sports, all one word. When making your first deposit, they will match your first deposit up to $1,000. Don't feel like watching baseball at 2 o'clock in the morning? Well, MyBookie has you covered with the online casino to scratch that itch. Go to mybookie.ag, use the promo code 12Ounce Sports today for free money when making your first deposit. Also, if you're looking to freshen up your look for the summertime, you have to check out 12Ounce Sports' new line of clothing. They've got everything from shirts, sweaters, to beach towels, and phone cases. Find the store online today at 12OZSportsRadio.com under the Our Store tab. There, you'll find a wide variety of clothing items, colors, and sizes that will suit your style. That's 12OZSportsRadio.com under the Our Store tab. Also, Seat Giant as well. When we can get fans back into the action, please, the first stop for any sporting event should be Seat Giant to get the first row of any sporting event out there. And last but not least, Zingo TV, which we are live here as well, and the rest of our shows. When signing up for a Zingo TV account, please make sure to use the promo code 12Ounce. That's just 12OZ, and you all could be streaming all these wonderful and beautiful shows on the 12 Ounce Sports that we can provide to you during this pandemic, and hoping that we can entertain each and every one of you out there during these crazy times. So yesterday I had Captain Lou on the show to discuss AEW and WWE. Today we have none other than the Queen on the Ice herself making a return again, none other than my wife, Gina Tucci. Gina, welcome back to the show. And first and foremost, I want to give you a round of applause for yesterday was World Nurses Day, and for basically being on the front lines of all this going on in our world. I just want to say thank you for what you've done. I love you very much, and what can I say? You really have changed this whole world, and what you deal with every day is quite the obstacles, I should say, when it comes to everything nowadays. So thank you so much for what you do. I love you, and happy Nurses Day yesterday.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I got a lot of shout outs from friends and family, so it was really nice. So if any of you know nurses out there, if your neighbor's a nurse, sister, cousin, husband, wife, send them a shout out. They really appreciate it. We all have been working hard during this hard time, so it's nice to get a thanks. So thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. So today, before we get involved into On Tap today, we have a lot to talk about. First segment here, we're going to talk about Westworld season finale. In the second half of the show, I'm going to talk about the schedule of the NFL that's going to be released tonight, and some Philly sports updates in the world. So we will see what happens. But first and foremost, Gina is going to discuss a new testing that involves antibodies. It's not really brought up on the news right now, and something that Gina just got involved with, and she's going to discuss about this for a couple of minutes. Gina, take it away.
Thanks, Philly P. I wanted to say that I like your new logo.
Thank you so much.
It's really nice. I like how they included all the sports in there.
Yeah, shout out to Cody Jansen for helping me out with this. Awesome, very nice, great decals with the little Flyers logo in the background in the orange. It's great. I love it, and a lot of people like it as well. So shout out to Cody. Thank you, my man.
It looks great. Thank you. I wanted to talk a little bit about this antibody testing. So you've been hearing it a little bit, not that much. And I just wanted to clear the air on something. It is a blood test that you can get. It's not a fasting test. It's just a regular blood test. So basically it shows if you've been exposed to the virus and that your body has mounted an immune to it. So, not an immune, but your body has mounted antibodies telling us that your body or your immune system has been in contact with the virus. So unfortunately, Philly Pete, that's all that it shows. So it doesn't show when you are exposed, how long that you had it, the severity of the symptoms, nor the strain of the virus. So if you all are looking for that, know that a positive result means that you were just exposed at some point in the past. Your doctor or practitioner cannot give you any more information than that. So, I mean, we have it at our office. We have a LabCorp at our office. We all got tested. We all were negative. And then, if you're positive, we really can't give you any answers beyond that you were exposed to it. Don't even know if you're immune. I want to make a correction from my earlier statement. We don't know if you're immune. And the good thing about it is that, hopefully, fingers crossed in the future, we can find somebody that has been or has tested positive for these antibodies, and maybe they can help donate their plasma to help other patients recover. However, this is still very much in the infancy, so I just kind of wanted to give you a look at what we're thinking right now.
All right.
I hope that clears something up and maybe get some answers for you, but I hope so.
Yeah, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first from the nurse practitioner herself. So just be on the lookout for that, and it's always stay safe and sanitize. Even in the month of May, we're coming into the hot months. Finally, in the summer, maybe this thing could finally break. But again, we have to stay safe because this is still going on as we speak. And but on the other hand, you see some happy sights down the road. the shore down in South Jersey, beaches and boardwalks are opening up on Friday. So that is some good news to see. I think they're out of their mind crazy. But again, again, it's just it's nice to see and nice to hear. So, and I know a lot of people are very excited about that. So, switching gears, we're going to move on to the Westworld season finale. I mean, what can I say? To me, all told here, a very good season finale to a mixed season. Gina and I were really, we were pretty confused. That's how I was with season 2. Season 3 didn't even get much better for me. However, I think more of my questions in season 3 were answered compared to season 2, because I think season 2 was just lackluster between 1 going into 2 and just didn't really pan out. But I think that out of all this, it would have played better had the show done more to establish the Insight company earlier on. Like, we got involved with them halfway through the season, and it just kind of was lackluster and just pushed. Everything was being pushed onto it. They really didn't basically get involved with them until later. And then we had hints of corporate, and other shady wheelings and dealings, but we were really thinking about the park and Delos, and we didn't really get much of that this season. So it was not much of a glimpse beyond a narrow window about that. And God, I could go on and on, but there's been a whiplash involved with suddenly pivoting just like a life outside of the park. Another huge and shadowy corporation led by scheming, wicked overlords. You have a fight against Delos and the Man in Black at the end to fight against Insight and Serac. So kind of a big leap. I basically suppose that's a pretty top-notch season finale, but it doesn't really completely ease my mind on how it all played out. A couple other questions I do want to know is, what does Dolores feel so powerful about freeing humankind? When she was killed off, supposedly, quote unquote, did she really die? Is she going to be in season 4, which was dropped, is going to be announced and coming out in 2022? So we have 2 years to discuss what's going to happen. Another 2 years. I get with all this going on, and it could even be late 2020 or 2022, excuse me, when everything is said and done with the 4th season. Will Dolores be there? Couple questions as well. It's how did she figure out Insight and Serac so quickly? That's another thing as to why all this Insight and Serac, with comparing to Dolores, like how she knew all about this. Is she a detective? Is she working behind the scenes that we don't know? But to me, I just think that's more to spend more time on, figuring about all that stuff. So, what did you think about the season finale, and where do you stand for season 4?
I don't think it answered a lot of my questions, if any.
Yeah.
But I have to say, there were a couple really cool scenes in there I want to bring up. The effects mostly. When Caleb's character was bringing Dolores back or bringing her Pearl back into her body, so to speak. Yeah. That was really cool how they had just her head, and then the rest of her pretty much was a body, or I'm sorry, a machine, and then they had her putting on the sleeve of her, a glove of her hand, which was really cool. I really appreciated those graphics. I thought it was done beautifully. As for what went on, it was really hard I'm still trying to wrap my head around who Delos is. If for the longest time I realized that this wasn't a character, it was a company. I was very confused. And then they bring in the Insight with Serac, and I'm like, forget it. I really thought Delos was a character for the longest time, I swear. And then another part that I really, really liked was when Hale showed up, but she was like that hologram. Yeah. And how they, you saw her, and even her voice sounded hologrammy. It didn't sound like they were face to face, which I really was like, oh, that's a really, really key detail that I liked. And how they made her disappear, little square by little square, how they had her deleted basically pixels, for the pixels. Yeah. That was really good. I liked those graphics. I liked how they kind of wrapped it up, how Dolores wanted free will. Basically, she wasn't trying to kill humanity. She was trying to have everybody have their free will. It seems kind of like her actions were futile, or it seems kind of like she took drastic measures to have this. But, did she know about this, that was it Solomon?
Yeah.
Did she know about that? Like
Yeah,
while she was in
really.
the park playing her loop? I mean, that we don't know. I guess we're supposed to assume that she's part of that creation.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really difficult. But you know, at the end, the very last scene when they showed all those like what do they call the things where all the robots were made? They like flicked on the lights and they showed like
Like an
that big
inventory.
warehouse. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool. That's a good cliffhanger for the season.
Yeah.
But I would be very surprised if Dolores was not in the next season, being that her character literally has been the lead for these 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to throw something out there, if she's not in the next season, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
I will protest and not watch it. Although, you know what? I like Bernard. You know, I really like Bernard's character. I think that guy's a great actor. We've seen him in a couple James Bond movies, which was really awesome. He's just got that convincible face. And with the glasses slightly down, I mean, he really looks scientific to me. But I liked at the end when they showed him covered in dust and being like showing that time has passed and that maybe he has Dolores's pearl that maybe has the key, but there was no key. I really don't know. Is it a physical key? Is it a memory? I have no idea. And if he is a copy of Dolores, why doesn't everybody, all the other copies have it? Again, I'm still trying to figure out who Delos is. If it's, I don't know.
Yeah, it's you know, the fact that we get involved with some sort of cycloptic you know, headpiece that Bernard wears at the end of the episode when Stubbs is recovering from a battle wound that he got shot by William. Again, to this day, we don't know what William's last name is, and I don't think we'll ever know. It's still, as a question since season 1, when we first got involved with William, that they've never, to this day, have mentioned what his last name is. His last name could be Delos. His last name could be Insight. It could be anything, really. I mean, it could be Abernathy. You know, Dolores' last name. It could be anything, really. It could be Smith. But that's one of the questions I will have going into season 4 as to what is William's last name, because it could play a key component in the future seasons that come with Westworld. But getting back to Bernard real quick, we know that it is a battle of Los Angeles and how the world is turning in a whole. We get that Stubbs probably doesn't make it, but Bernard basically shut his system off for who knows how many years. It could have been 10 years. It could have been 20 years. It could have been 50 years. It could have been even over 100 years because of the dust. Because first off, dust settles on a human, and that takes years, if not decades to. And it was a very, very large compact full of dust that was on him. It wasn't just like, okay, I've been sitting in the basement for a year. I have some dust on me. But this was a lot. Like, he was under construction, and it's like all like wood chippings on him.
Yeah, it does.
So it could have been at least maybe, I'm going to go on a limb and say it was probably like 25 years now. We are in the future of Westworld, 25 years in, and he finally wakes up to what is basically an apocalyptic future in Los Angeles. So that we don't know what the world is once he steps out on foot. Could he be the only one standing there? Maybe. We know a war just happened. Okay, we'll see what happens. But then you get to the very end of the episode, post credits, where you have William, quote unquote, the good guy that he calls himself, and he goes into Delos and realize like, hey, you know, I'm saving the world. I'm gonna save everybody. Here you see Charlotte, and I do think if there is no Dolores, I'm with Gina here. Like she makes the whole season, obviously, and I can't see Westworld not having her. It was kind of tough not seeing Ford's character in this season either. I was hoping some sort of surprise at the end, but he wasn't. But I think that this is Charlotte Hale's show here on out, and Caleb as well, Aaron Paul's character here on out, and again more William. But I'd be very drastically, basically, you know, disappointed if Dolores does not make an appearance in season 4. However, you know, William gets involved, and then the Man in Black is obviously a host, and now Charlotte's working with him now as like a test weapon, basically. And takes care of good guy William, and then the ending is, like Gina said, the inventory of all these hosts that are breeding into new hosts now. So a lot to explain about in this finale, and like I said, some things in the season they left some stuff like Dolores out of the picture, obviously, like we mentioned, and then you get involved with Cal, Maeve, and Bernard, who will have to fill in as heroes, taking on a murderous Charlotte and Men in Black duo. So we know we have a heel and we have the good guys. The fight for survival of mankind, obviously, is the future of robot-human relations, and that obviously will be decided in season 4. I like that most, if not all, the questions we had were answered by the end of the season as well, which I just mentioned. I like there was a less sleight of hand in the narrative. Season 2, obviously, I just mentioned, tried too hard to be clever. As season 1, it was too sloppy and messy to me. Season 3 really didn't bother with that sort of thing as much, but some of its cards are still not raveled yet, or unraveled, I should say, into as we know. So, is Dolores gone for good? Is probably the key question here. Other than that, anything else you want to tack on to the season finale?
It was definitely difficult to follow. I know you and I were talking about rewatching season 2 and season 3, which I don't think is a bad idea, but still, there's a lot. When I feel like when you're watching it, there was more questions than answers, and that maybe that's part of the season or the concept that they're trying to get through. But keep in mind, like, we're watching this for the first time, like the writers have figured out all angles and hopefully an end to their they have a plan, which we don't have now. So it's a little that's kind of what I'm holding on to.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that basically wraps up the first segment of my show and the review of Westworld Season 3. Season 4 will be out, like I said, in 2022. And again, we have 2 years to basically digest what just happened in Season 3. So, but in the meantime, we will go back to Season 2, rewatch that, and most likely rewatch Season 3. No lie, I watched Season 1 3 times, and I actually understood it after the 3rd try. Geez. 3 times a charm, we'll see, but I look forward to Season 4 in the future. But real quick, before Gina signs off, she has a very nice shout out as well that she wants to give out. So Gina, go ahead.
Yes. I wanted to give a shout out to Jeff. He tweeted my husband last night about me coming on the show, and he enjoys my perspective and my female perspective on things. So my shout out to Jeff, saying thank you. And anytime he wants to get a hold of me for my own show, or I can even take over Pete's show, which I'm totally okay with. Pete probably won't be okay. Maybe I'll have you on to have a man's perspective. And Jeff, I wanted to let you know that I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about. If I'm mad, I'm going to talk about that. If I'm not, I'm going to talk about whatever I want, and that's all.
All right. Well,
so those are my terms. Let me know. But thank you anyway. So it's been a lot of fun. I hope Philly Pete will have me back on. We have a great time doing this. So Thanks, Jeff, and thanks to everybody out there.
Well, real quick though, before it was funny because last night we were going back and forth with everything on our 12-ounce sports group DMs that we have on the Twitter, and Jeff kind of called out my wife Gina and how basically it's nice to have her involved with things and get the family aspect of what, and again it just truly does change a setting from being a male dominant group and having an actual having a woman's take on things. So that was really nice of Jeff to drop her name down. That's a big shout out to Jeff as well. So again, thank you so much. But anything else you want to say to the Twitterverse, Gina, before you sign off?
Actually, there is one thing.
Okay.
So last night we found out that tonight's moon is going to be a super moon.
Yes.
So, and this is the last one for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. So everybody get outside, look at the super moon tonight, because we won't see it again until sometime next year.
Yes, that's great. Grab a cold one as well, because I know I will. So, all right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that is basically concludes Gina's segment with me today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for being on. Always a pleasure, and definitely next week you will be on. So, Gina, thank you again.
Thank you. You got it. I'll be here next week.
All right. So, Gina Tucci, ladies and gentlemen, everyone out there, again, those that have nurses in the family or doctors, I thank them all for doing what they have been doing, dealing on the front lines with the coronavirus and making sure everyone is safe and healthy. So, again, thank you to all those frontline people out there as well. My sister, too, is also a nurse practitioner, so shout out to you, Steph, as well. So, we love you, too. So keep up the great and amazing work that we have in America, and all the nurses and doctors out there. We appreciate you, and my salute to you as well. So moving on. So, I got about less than 10 minutes here with you guys. I'm going to basically discuss about, first off, next week, Philly Pete's going to do a first of the year fantasy football mock draft, and who I think is going to be dark horses, outstanding and rookies that are coming into the league who I think is going to blow up or bust. Also, a couple surprises for PPR fantasy as well. So keep a name on David Johnson this season for the Houston Texans. Again, I will discuss this next week's show. So a lot to do next week as well. So real quick, the Philadelphia Eagles, like I said, the NFL schedule is released tonight, 7:30, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. A lot of speculation is that the NFL is tempted to basically have all the non-divisional games start. I guess I want to say interconference games are going to be the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. So the Eagles, a lot of word on the street is they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 1 on Sunday Night Football. Again, leaked schedules are BS to me. Half the time they're wrong, obviously. So, but a lot of people are saying Seattle Seahawks in Week 1. Other people are saying the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 1, and then following up by Baltimore, Cleveland, and Cincinnati the first 4 weeks of the season, and then they get into divisional games as well. So we will see what happens. I know the Eagles are ready to rock and roll. A lot of news about Jadeveon Clowney and about the Eagles possibly linked together. I know we're in May 7th now, and Jadeveon has not been signed by any team yet. He has 5 teams in mind, including the Eagles, Cleveland Browns, and the Tennessee Titans, just to name a few. So we will see what happens. Me personally, I would take him just because, especially that he's looking for a 1 to 2 year deal and something not that, obviously he's going to be pricey, but he's willing to take a cut to sign on a team. We know what happened in the playoffs last season. It's a piece of crap shot on Carson Wentz to his head, and he didn't return for the rest of the playoff game. His first playoff game as an Eagle, and first quarter he gets knocked out by Jadeveon Clowney. You know how Wentz is, Mr. AO1 himself. He will open Jadeveon Clowney's with open arms. The God preacher himself, Carson Wentz. So, it is what it is. I think Eagles fans wouldn't mind having Clowney on the team as well. But again, we will see what happens as he's linked to the Philadelphia Eagles. Alshon Jeffrey's role with the Eagles offense right now. The Eagles got Jalen Reagor from TCU as our first pick, and they also followed up with a few other receivers on the NFL draft. Quick side note, Corey Clement also obviously has been signed by the Eagles again for another year, so that's nice to see. And, a very, very nice third stringer, I should say, behind Boston Scott and Mr. Miles Sanders himself, who is supposed to be a 3-down back this year and carrying a huge, huge load for the Eagles on that offense this year. So this is going to be basically a huge, huge season for Miles to come, and that's why, to me, he is a early second rounder in fantasy football this season. So be on the lookout for Mr. Miles. He is going to go off this season for the Eagles, and they're going to have a pretty solid schedule from what I'm seeing here as well. So, they got to play away San Francisco to name a few. You also play Arizona. Now, the Cardinals-Eagles game was supposed to be in Mexico City, and now they're not doing anything internationally now. So there's going to be no England games, no London games, no one's flying overseas, no Mexico games this season as well. Like I said, the Eagles are supposed to play the Arizona Cardinals. However, I believe this is going to stay in Arizona now, the game. So, but again, time will tell once we have this coronavirus situated with, and teams will know exactly. But to me, coming from Philly, Pete, I really don't think that traveling is going to be much involved. And obviously into the just in the states. That's it. No international travel for me. I think, like I said, the Cardinals will host the Eagles for that week, and basically that's where I stand on that situation. So, but getting more involved into the offense here, Alshon Jeffrey, we know, just a little bit of a lingering effect for the Eagles offensively. He is a fragile product, but when he's on, he's on. We got Marquise Goodwin from the Niners coming in as well. We have some speedsters now. We have speedsters. Carson will get the ball out there, but it really depends on how we use Alshon Jeffrey right now. So, his season last year obviously was beyond dreadful. Injuries after injuries. Greg Ward stepped up and helped the Birds big time. So, again, here we are. You have Greg Ward, you have Deshaun Jackson. Alshon, obviously, if he's healthy and if he's around, could help us too. And then again, Jalen Reagor. So we have plenty of offense for this team. Switching up gears to the Philadelphia 76ers real quick. Ben Simmons has basically recovered from his injury. And if the season was ready to rock now, he would be 100%. That is great news for us. And hey, what can I say? This is exactly what we needed. Maybe we needed this coronavirus to help the Sixers out because of knowing how kind of inconsistent they've been, especially on the road. So, time will tell here. And, I'm just glad to see that, Ben Simmons is healthy, and, we will see what happens. And another word in the street is Joel Embiid, the process himself, is trying to come out with a 10-part documentary on the process. Not sure how that would look like. What would it look like? So we will see. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But again, that's Joel Embiid for. He is a jokester as is. So time will tell for that big time. Moving on real quick, the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, not really much going on with them besides a bunch of players helping out for the COVID-19, donating money, which is really, really nice. And, they're looking forward to this season as well. Hopefully it comes back. And you know what? I've had a couple conversations here and there. And again, I want to get back to the aspect of hockey returning. Speaking of the Flyers, teams honestly, they haven't played the same amount of games before the stoppage. So the only way I see the season coming back is basically going by winning percentage and then straight to the playoffs. Otherwise, you need to play some games to even this out in some capacity. Coming from a buddy of mine as well who's hardcore in the hockey just as I am, he also agrees with me. He personally doesn't see any resumption for the league with what's going on right now. If it does resume, I expect them to go to the playoffs. That's exactly what I said the other day on the show. It just makes so much sense here. And then like another side piece here is I think we could possibly see every round except the finals going best of 5 or even shorter. Hey, NBA did it, so they did best of 3 back in the day. They did best and then best of 5. Obviously now they're best of 7, but I can see the NHL shortening up the season by that aspect, making all the rounds best of 5 until the Cup, which would be obviously best of 7. So we will see. We will see what happens. But the more this drags out, the more likely the season gets lost. Same thing with the NBA as well, and baseball. Baseball obviously has been leaked. That I know I discussed this the other day, but July 1st, Trevor Plouffe has obviously one of the MLB players out there. He was on the Twins. I believe he's on the Indians now. I could be wrong, but he kind of tweeted out and then deleted the post that MLB is starting up July 1st, like I said. So I will stand with that. NHL and NBA, like I said as well, is again. I really hope July 4th weekend is more of a observation and a good estimation to when it should start. But they still need the whole month of June to get back into action. But like I said, over-unders in hockey, just be ready because we're going to see a lot of goals. Players are still going to be iffy when it comes to pucks, but when it comes to shooting the puck in the net, that's a no-brainer for me. Goalies are still obviously will need more time too, but again, we'll see what happens. And that basically concludes the week and the day of Pete's Power Plays. This May 7th, 2020 episode. Pete's Power Plays hosted by the one, the only, King of the Ice himself, Philly Pete. And listen, I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Have a great Thursday. Talk to you all again on Tuesday. And again, those that want to follow me, I now have my handle up on my screen now as my image. Those that did not tune in today, please reach out to me at The Real Pete Chooch. If you search up PT, I'm one of the first guys there, so you can't miss me, and I'll be more than happy to answer all your questions. Again, next week, action-packed week as I will get involved with early fantasy football rankings and a mock draft as well. So stay tuned to next week. Again, hope everyone has a phenomenal weekend. Stay safe, stay sound, and talk to you then. Later, guys. Bye-bye.